you are no longer the smartest person in the room because every single person has access to ChatGPT and Claude. And so your value that you bring to a potential client or an opportunity is very different than it used to be. If you're still relying on your 20 years of experience and being the smartest person in the room and information being your biggest piece of value, you're going to start to struggle.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. I'm your host, Monte Reyment. Today's guest has trained over 20,000 agents to make more money while working less. Guys, that's not a typo. Jess has helped over 20,000 agents make more money while working less, like everybody's dream, right? Jess, how do you say your last name?
It's Lenouvel.
Lenouvel. I would have been really close, so that's good. So Jess Lenouvel, former top producing realtor, founder of the Listings Lab, author of More Money, Less Hustle. You built something called the ROI Method, and that I want to dig into a little bit here today too. And
Totally.
So with that being said, Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love it. So as in any podcast, what's your journey? Where did this start in real estate? What's your origin story? And then we'll get into the real good stuff here.
Yeah, for sure. So I got my license when I was 21. My mom has been an agent for over 40 years. So I kind of grew up in the industry. Of course, never thought that I would get into real estate, right? I was like, I'm not going to be anything like my parents. I'm going to go and do something completely different. Hit 21, came out of school with absolutely nothing that I knew how to do. So mom was like, just get your license, stop fighting it. And so I got into real estate, tried to work with her for about 5 minutes. We figured that we would hate each other very quickly. I don't know how people work with their parents. And so I was an average agent. I was like a low six-figure agent for a couple years. I was also very young. So of course I was spending every dollar that I made on shoes and vacations and things like that. And then I started really studying digital marketing. Now I have a fly in here. I started my business on Facebook in 2005. So Facebook was this brand new thing. Nobody was using it. I started at a Keller Williams office and they were like, you need to cold call and door knock and flyer and billboard and work your sphere. And I was 21 and my sphere was 21. And my mom was also in my sphere. Nobody wanted to work with me. No one in my sphere trusted me or wanted to work with me.
Right.
So
which makes sense.
100%. I'd be the same.
On paper.
I would be the same.
On paper.
And so I started what I used to call prospecting from my PJs. I would sit at home on my little laptop and I would talk to people on Facebook. And that's how I initially built my business. That's how I did my first 100 deals. And then I really got into digital marketing and I started really studying and understanding how other industries, other service-based industries were generating business on social media and with digital platforms. That is when I went from low six figures to seven figures very quickly. And then I built out a really lean team. We did about 250, 300 deals a year. And that we maintained that for several years. And then I decided that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to teach agents. So that's when I made the transition over and built the Listings Lab.
Outstanding. That's a ton of transactions in a year. 250 to 300 is a lot. So you were a top producer, then you walked away selling to teach. What was the breaking point for you?
I think that I get bored easily.
You got ADD like me. Perfect.
And I was like, okay, we figured this out. What's next? And I live in the Bahamas now. And I knew this was in 2017. I knew that I needed to leave. I needed to be location independent. I needed to build a different kind of business. My husband and I were just so antsy that we really wanted to we're originally from Toronto. And so we wanted to get out of Toronto. We wanted to be somewhere warm and we wanted to just have a little bit more location freedom. So that's what we did. We transitioned over. I moved to LA for 6 months to work with a mentor. We built up the business and moved back to Toronto for a period of time. And then 5 years ago, we landed permanently in the Bahamas.
I love it. Love it. Obviously, the episode is called Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent? It's not to throw shade at people, right? It's the reason I started the podcast was a lot like you, is to go into teaching. I started doing some teaching. I've also coached in my life in sports and things like that. So I wanted to get back to be able to do that. And I've had a pretty decent cup of coffee as far as being a good producer. And I'm a new broker. About 3 years will be in a couple of weeks will be our 3-year anniversary. And every agent I work with is a new agent. So I haven't had somebody come from another brokerage where we've had to break habits, other than the ones that have been really like maybe 2 or 3 deals, and then they come over because they see the success that we're having. So
Right.
it's interesting to see when you see a struggling agent and you understanding that either they suck or they don't. In most cases, they don't. It's behaviors. And they assume that I have some secret or you have some secret. What's the honest answer to all of that?
I think that it's how they think, frankly, or how they problem solve and how they make decisions. I think that I can give 2 completely different people, 2 different agents, exactly the same information, exactly the same tools. One person will make $1 million and the other person will not. And I think, yes, it's behaviors, but I think the behaviors come from decisions. I use a framework called BETDAR, which is beliefs, emotions, thoughts, decisions, actions, results. And so they're broken somewhere along the way.
Did you get that from Creed from The Office, a bow body, and you just made it happen? Or what?
I should reference that. But yeah, it's somewhere something's broken, and then something's happening where they're not taking the action, or they're not making the right decisions along the way, which is then impacting the result. And so I think in a lot of ways, like I hate to use the word mindset because I just think it's so overused and used incorrectly in so many ways, but it's the way that they think and the way that they make decisions about what it is that they're doing in their business. My biggest challenge with people is to get them to realize that just because they've been door knocking for 100 years doesn't mean that door knocking is the only way to move forward, right? When someone sees one of my ads and they feel called out by the fact that I'm saying you don't have to door knock and you don't have to do those things if they're not working for you or if they're not how you want to build your business, there are alternatives. I think people there's two types of people. There's the people who are like excited about what I have to say, and then there's the people who just want to fight me.
Yeah. So with that being said, the real estate industry in and of itself worships the 80-hour week, and I'm guilty as well. Starting a new brokerage, I've grinded here for the last 2.5 years. Yep. And I see a lot of people in this industry burn out. I haven't got to that point. I've felt it, but I haven't gotten to a point where I just leave or just run away. Like I haven't done that. Yeah. Why is burnout a badge of honor in this industry? What have you seen?
I think that we are the origins of the real estate world, and the real estate agent is the old school sales guy, right? And that's what we did, right? That's how people built their businesses. They worked hard and they put in the hours but we live in 2026. We've got automations and AI, and we've got the ability to build like small, lean teams. Digital marketing can do most of your lead generation, if not all of your lead generation, and follow up for you. I think that now we live in a world where real estate agents are inefficient. And I think it's the inefficiency that creates they're so attached to that badge of honor that the idea of creating efficiency makes them feel guilty.
Sure.
And so if something
I feel that too.
Easy,
and I certainly feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. If something's easy, then it's not worthwhile. But then we get these 25-year-old kids coming in and creating everything in the easiest, most direct route. And they're grabbing up market share and they have no experience, but they're still able to do what they're doing because they're doing things the fastest and easiest way.
Sure. Yep. So what's the first real step to building relationships on a scale without faking it? Because that's really this industry, right? Industry is driven on, in my opinion, 2 things. One is relationships. The other thing is math and problem solving. So relationships matter the most, because if you don't have those, you don't have business.
Absolutely. And so I think that the way that people build a digital brand has to be very intentional. We don't live in a world where you can post just listed, just sold, open house content and expect that to perform. In fact, Meta has now categorized that kind of content as spam content. So if your entire account, or even a small percentage really of your account, is just listed, just sold, like billboardy type content, your reach and the way that your brand performs on these platforms will slowly die. And so when we're talking about building an online brand and building attraction marketing, where people are coming to you because they feel connected to you, but they also feel like you're an authority, I teach it in like kind of three major buckets. I teach the authority content, the personal content, and the social proof. And so if you really master all three of those buckets, you're giving everybody all that they need in order for them to feel comfortable enough to choose you. They know that you know what you're doing. They know that you can get results. They know that you are smart and they like the way that you think, but they also feel like they know you. We hear the cliche of know and trust all the time, but most real estate accounts have no personal content on them. So people actually don't know anything about you. They don't know how you think. They don't know your philosophies. They don't know anything like that. And for the most part, real estate agent content's really boring. So if you're scrolling on a feed, the real estate agent isn't competing with other real estate agents. You're competing with the influencers, with the makeup brands, with the podcasters, you're competing with everyone who's making content, period.
Right.
And so we're in an era now of the real estate agent content creator. And those are the people who really are grabbing up that business. People who are being consistent online, people who are building a stronger digital brand, and the people who are actually talking about things that it's the lack of the vanilla. And I think there's a lot of really vanilla, really boring real estate content out there.
For sure. Yep, 100%. So what's the hook around that though? Like we know that those just closed, just sold are things that are out there. And I think it's important for people to know that you are being a successful agent.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, what's the way around that then?
Case studies, testimonials, and PR. So I always use HGTV as an example, right? It doesn't matter who you are. You have been hooked at some point by something on HGTV. And the reason why it works is because the entire network is built on case studies. People love to consume case study content if it's created well. And so every time you have a just sold, instead of posting a just sold, you post a case study. You tell the story. You take someone through the journey from start to finish.
Got it.
And you allow them to live vicariously through that client that you just helped through this process. Not only are you telling the story, you're emotionally connecting with the people who are in that same situation or that same position, but you're also highlighting the things in your process that you do on a regular basis that made everything go smoothly. And so it's the storytelling. Stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. Right.
Yeah. And so, I just had a really good idea.
Tell me, what's the idea?
As far as I'm just thinking, one of the big things I'm trying to push in ours, because we're rebuilding our website. And when you start a brokerage, you have 4 different people and 20 different hands in the cookie jar building a website. Yeah. And I finally have a company that I trust and know that's going to do a great job building the website. But one of the things I want to do is get video testimonials. I'm like, okay, video testimonials are cool, but what if we got the person to actually just tell the story of how their journey began with
you just have to give them the prompts along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, simple.
And it's a much better way than just, oh, Monty was great and we had a great experience and we would use him again. Because there's no need in there, right? Yeah. So and with the formats that are performing well on social media right now, like carousels lend themselves so well to case studies because you can lay out slide by slide the story so that people want to just go to the next slide and want to consume the entire story.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Cool. All right. So you have something called the ROI method.
Yep.
Break this down. What's the foundational idea? I think I have a good idea of what it is, but
yeah.
I'd rather hear it from the writer
horse's
herself.
Mouth. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So ROI stands for relevancy, omnipresence, and intimacy. So
see, that's not what I thought. I was thinking of return on investment. That's
no, but it's a good play on it. So relevancy, omnipresence, and intimacy. Those are the 3 pieces that you need to kind of nail in order for your digital marketing to perform and to be, frankly, like unlimitedly scalable. This is how you build that ongoing tap of clients that you can control. And so when we're talking inbound lead generation, inbound client generation, people reaching out to you with the come list me messages and calls, relevancy is the first piece. So relevancy is who are you speaking to and do you understand their pains, problems, fears, and desires? So when I tell people to niche down in real estate or niche down in real estate, they always freak out. But when it comes to digital marketing, you have to. Because again, the more vanilla you are and the more generic or general that you are, the less your content will perform. So having a demographic that you focus on, upsizers, downsizers, first-time buyers, first-time investors, seasoned investors, dog owners living in condos, whatever you want that target demographic to be. I promise you, there is more than enough business happening in your area, even if you're in a small place. There's more than enough business happening within that overall demographic umbrella to not only feed your business, but more than. So we start with the relevancy. Are the things that you're putting in front of them connecting to them? Is it in the language that they speak and in their words, not yours? I think there's a lot of here's what I want to say happening with real estate agents on social media, and that's the opposite of what needs to be happening. It's what does my ideal client need to hear from me today? So the relevancy piece starts pains, problems, fears, and desires, understanding those things. The omnipresence piece is taking a relevant message and putting it everywhere. Literally everywhere that you can possibly put it so that they feel like everywhere they go, they're seeing your message and your name. So that's organic social media, that's retargeting campaigns, that's email. So that like when someone enters your funnel, you appear to be everywhere. But if the message isn't relevant, you're annoying. So the message has to be relevant so that someone is building that connection with you.
Yeah.
The intimacy piece is the relationship. It's I'm not just only talking about real estate and my awards and my listings and things like that. I'm actually a real human being that's connecting with you online. I had one of our members or one of our students in one of our programs the other day. She was having a really hard time with personal content. She said, I'm a really private person. And I said, you are a real estate agent. You're asking people to tell you their deepest, darkest, to tell you their financial situations, and you're asking them to invite you into their homes, and you won't tell them a personal story? How is that? Right. Like, how does that work?
It's not how relationships work.
It's not how relationships work. So the intimacy piece is the connection, the conversation, and two people feeling like they get to know each other. If anybody thinks about their favorite person that they follow online, they feel like they know them. If they saw them in a grocery store, they would feel weird because they'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel like that's my friend over there, but I don't actually know this person. That's what we need to create with the intimacy piece, is that connection that people make decisions with emotions before they make them logically, right?
And that's almost your close before you meet.
100%. Right? I feel like I know you.
Yep. And we get that. Some of my girls do an outstanding job here of that in our office, and they do a great job. And they get messages from younger agents or things like that. We're like, girl, I've been watching you for 2 years now, and I think it's about time I finally reach out to you, and I think I might want to become a real estate agent because I feel like I know you, and they have no idea who this person is. They just follow their Instagram or whatever it is, which is awesome. And I know that's the part they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they like doing it too. There's some humor in there, and they're doing education, and we use our flipping business as a way to the HGTV thing. Like people like following that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yep. Good. So let's take a step back here. And so I want to ask you something else. If a brand new agent listening right now could only change one thing tomorrow, just one, what is it?
Specificity. Build a niche. Build out in a niche. And I know that as a new agent, that's scary, but figure out who you're speaking to and speak to that one person over and over again.
Sure. And I guess another one that we have in here, going back to the ROI method, but then you have so many different shiny objects in real estate. So tying in niche, tying in shiny objects, because they're out there everywhere. And as a broker, it's like, I'm getting hit every single way of all these different things. And the word lead in my office is not allowed to be said.
I hate, you know what? I hate that we call people leads. I actually think it's awful.
Yeah. You're right. And I'm giving it up in our office. I don't allow it. I don't even like calling people clients, like their friends or their fans, whatever you want to call them that way. And leads to us is an opportunity. That's like a whole different way to look at it, because if it's treated as a lead, you can just toss it off and wait for the next one. But opportunities don't come by every day. So if you can capitalize on the opportunity, it's a much better way of looking at it than that. So you're right. There's words in my office that are banned because of that. But shiny object, back to that.
Yeah.
The shiny object syndrome. Where do agents go wrong with this? I know a lot of people are saying build your personal sphere. We just talked about the ROI method, which I think is the number one way that you can build a business in this industry, because this industry is hard, especially the first 2 years.
Yep.
How do they abandon those shiny objects and just say no when they're getting hit every single day?
I think that they just need to figure out one strategy, and they need to commit to the strategy and focus and just honestly put blinders on. There's a million things that even with our students that we work with, like I get probably 15 questions a day. They're like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And my answer to them is always, have you completed the things that are currently on your plan? If you haven't, then absolutely not. You're being a squirrel, and it's easy to be a squirrel because I actually think that most people who are entrepreneurial are a little bit ADD, right? And so it's easy for us to get distracted. But normally something looks attractive as a distraction when we're actually in the work. And so when you're in the thing, or you're trying to eat the frog, however you want to say it, right? That's when you pick up your phone. Right? It's when you try to disassociate or you look for something else because you're about to do something that feels uncomfortable. But that's really where all the goodness in business period comes from.
For sure. Yep. So you had mentioned a word before, automation. And so automation is huge right now. And you don't get to 300 deals a year without automating some parts of your business. So how do you automate this day and age without sounding like an AI robot?
Yeah. So we don't automate the actual, we automate everything that shouldn't come from a human being. So the client or the person who is on the receiving end, it never feels like automation.
Got it.
And so the language that we use that is built into everything is super conversational and sounds exactly like you. And so everything that's automated on the back end, it's just all the button clicking. I think there's so many people, especially teams that have been around for a long time, that are paying a handful of people $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to do a job that a piece of software can do for $500 a year. So when we're talking about efficiency, and I don't mean like fire that person, but find something for them to do that's actually going to move the needle instead of them doing the busy work. Pretty much everything in your business can be automated to a certain extent. People assume that I spend a lot of time on social media. I spend maybe 10 minutes a day on socials. And then everything else is scheduled and automated and fully taken care of, as well as all of the marketing, as well as all of the nurture sequences, as well as all of the call confirmations, everything that you're doing that you know that you probably shouldn't be doing, right? How many agents spend an hour or two a day just clicking around on MLS? Calling it work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so...
Or they don't. They'll go, they'll be on social media and they'll say, oh, I'm just posting, or I'm just seeing what's out there. They'll be in these groups.
I'm doing research. There's a lot of research that happens. But the reality, too, is that with AI, with a tool like Claude Code or Claude Cowork, like most of those things can be automated very easily. Right. And so I think that in this next era, the tech savvy real estate agent is actually going to work a lot less and be able to produce a lot more, because all they're going to have to do is the client facing stuff.
Yep. And I've noticed that even in mine, just with Claude, you just mentioned Claude, but even incorporating that, and I'm no expert yet. I'm taking the Claude certification class right now because I feel like it's so good. And, but I feel like my schedule now is like, I got done with work the other day and last week and got all my broker activities done, because I'm still producing as an agent too. I do about 100 a year as an agent, and still trying to train these new agents and everything else. And part of this has to do with them just getting a lot better at their jobs too. But I was done at 3:00 on Friday, and I was like, wait, my inbox is at like 15. I'm like, what is going on right now? I don't have anything to do. I felt like you talked about the guilt earlier. I was like, I'm kind of guilty leaving early, but I'm going to go home. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, go home. And that's the thing, right? I say to agents all the time, I'm like, would you pay $30 to be able to spend an extra 2 hours with your kids on a Friday afternoon? Of course you would. Right? So spend the $30 to build out the system or the automation, do the things that you need to do, put the time in on the front end so that I would say that the average agent probably efficiently or effectively works for like 3 to 4 hours a day. And the rest of the time is, the rest of the 4 hours is probably something that can be automated or made more efficient.
Man, I wish it was 3 to 4 hours. Sometimes I question if that's a week sometimes. They're actually doing work.
Yeah. So. That's the thing. If you think about it in terms of wasted time, like you could work 2-3 hours a day, hit all of your goals, and then spend the rest of the time I don't know, reading a book or hanging out with your kids or
Picking up a new skill, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
exactly. Go
Learn a
take a
foreign
salsa
language,
lesson.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, you could do that. So talking about this now, as people become more efficient, agents don't have to choose between money and a life. Where's the biggest, now that we're talking about inefficiencies, where's the biggest time leak in their day, do you think? Is it just what we talked about, or do you think
It depends on the
do you think
agent.
there's something else going on?
I think it depends on
What's
the
that?
agent. I think it depends
Yeah.
on the agent. What we normally do is we do like an energy audit or a task audit right at the very beginning of working with someone so that we have an understanding of what are they spending time on. For some people, honestly, we start working with someone and we're like, "Oh, you have 900 children. You spend way too much time doing laundry. Let's look at how we can outsource some of the home stuff first so that we can spend more time on income generating activities without you falling behind at home." Sometimes for certain people, it's a house manager that has to come first. For some people, it's an administrator. For some people, it's a runner. For some people, it's automation, like eliminate, automate, outsource, right? So what are you doing that's inefficient? What can we automate? And then what needs to be outsourced so that you can spend however many hours that you need to be spending on income generating things or focused on the right things so that your business actually moves forward. There's so many agents that are stuck year over year because they never work on the business. Their only time is working in the business.
Yep. So you've trained 20,000 plus agents, which is a pretty cool flex. If somebody has an online presence that all they're doing is just like a mess of inconsistent posts
Yeah.
and ego flexes, what's step one?
Relearn everything that you have been doing. Make a promise to yourself to stop posting billboard style content and niche down. Figure out, do some market research. Figure out what the pains, problems, fears, and desires are of the person that you want to attract and start creating value driven content for that person. I know that's a generic answer, but it's really difficult to give someone a first step when they have to unlearn everything that they've been doing and unfollow all the other agents that you're following. Because most real estate agents are just copying an agent who's copying another agent who's copying another agent. And so everyone's got all of these bad habits because no one's actually learning the skill properly.
Yep, that's some great advice right there, because I see that in my feed too, and I keep my feed. I'm not going to unfollow agents because that's how I recruit some of them.
No, not for you.
Yeah, not for me. But you're right; it's all the same. And the only time I see somebody pop up is if they're doing the same thing as the next agent. We have a film crew in our area, and they're outstanding. They do a great job of making these listing videos, but they're not really listing videos. They're agents promoting themselves, and they're not promoting the houses. And I'm like, these people hired you to promote the house, and you're promoting yourself and only a small glimpse of the actual house itself. So I'm having a real hard conundrum with that company just for that reason. And they're outstanding. Like I said, it's not their fault. It's the agent is the producer and the director. They should be the ones that are focusing on the house. So I have a couple little changes that I'm going to be doing here in the next few months with just video and all that other stuff. Now, I've seen a lot of this. A lot of agents getting out of the business now. And I think you see a huge gap of people who are successful. What do they say? The top 10% of agents produce 90% of the real estate transactions. And I think I saw a stat the other day that last year, out of 1.2 or 1.3 million agents, only 2,000 of them didn't transact.
71%.
So for me, it's like, yeah, it's wild. Like, what's the point of even being an agent just so you can say that you're a real estate agent? But 3 years from now, what separates the agents from those that are thriving and the ones who disappear?
I think that we're in an era of Blockbuster, right? You know how Blockbuster really fought the new model and Netflix put them out of business. I think truly the next era of real estate agent has to completely change how they identify. I did a training on this the other day. You are no longer the smartest person in the room because every single person has access to ChatGPT and Claude. And so your value that you bring to a potential client or an opportunity is very different than it used to be. If you're still relying on your 20 years of experience and being the smartest person in the room and information being your biggest piece of value, you're going to start to struggle. And so what I've been teaching in the last couple of weeks, especially, is let's rework your entire process. The service package that you're fundamentally selling needs to be focused on what are the things that you can do that AI can't do.
Yeah. A lot of that's I would imagine a lot of that just comes to being like, as far as people, like,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's people, right? It's got to come down to that. And it's mindset. It's when a buyer gets frustrated and they get fatigued, are you going to just let them buy the next house because they've talked themselves into it? Are you going to be willing to talk them out of buying that house and wait for the next one? Are you going to be like, hey, the listing's not moving? Are you going to be able to partner up and be a teammate to that listing, that seller who's frustrated that they thought their house was valued higher than what you had told them it was? So you're going to have to be able to still build relationships. It's still going to be a relationship business. It's just
But you also, I
ability
think,
to,
are going to need to learn how to be a full operations coordinator, right?
yeah,
The more that you can make we've heard for so many, and I hate the word concierge or white glove because I just feel like it's been
yeah,
so overused, but that's the way that this industry is moving.
yeah,
Because AI isn't going to coordinate all the people. It's not going to bring an estate sale person in and manage the whole thing. It's going to be a lot more, there's going to be a bigger gap between the discount agent that does almost nothing and the full service agent that does everything.
yeah, yep, 100%. I think, what other services do you provide, and who can you get them like we do two things here with post close, and we provide a moving truck on moving day for all of our clients that need it. We're also building a vendor network as well, so they can go right to our website and go, okay, yeah, I need an HVAC guy, I need this. Otherwise, they just call me and I'm like, yeah, I got a guy. They know me, I'm the guy who has a guy. So being able to make their lives easier, and then all these contractors are vetted, all these businesses are vetted, so they don't have to worry if they're going to get taken as well. So yeah, so that's really good stuff. So let's talk about your book, More Money, Less Hustle. Tell us about that one. That's a hook right there in of itself.
Yeah, I never wanted to be an author. It was never something that I aspired to do. But the more agents that I worked with, the more agents were like, what books should I be reading? And I didn't have anything in the real estate space that I actually wholeheartedly stood behind. And so I was like, I guess it's time. So I wrote it. Right? So I wrote the book that I could recommend. And it's broken down into the 6 or 7 pillars of the different areas of your business and how I approach each of those areas in order to not only have more money, but also really create something that's efficient and that can really buy back that time. Most people got into real estate because they thought that it was unlimited income potential, that they could set their own schedule and they could help people. Those are like the 3 main reasons people choose real estate. And the reality for 90% of agents is that they don't have any of those things. Their time is not their own. Their income is capped because they're the bottleneck of what is actually happening and producing and they're not helping as many people as they ultimately want to. So
Right.
Basically, I wrote the book to be the solution, or at least help them start to map out what that solution actually looks like for them.
Love it. And where can they find your book?
Amazon. So it's
beautiful.
easiest place. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's on Amazon. If you just Google More Money, Less Hustle, it'll come up. It's a blue cover.
Yep, love it. And then you also run something called the Listings Lab. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Listings Lab is like our signature program. We have quite a few programs, but it's like the one that we're the most known for. And it teaches someone essentially from start to finish how to become a proper digital marketer that gets incoming business from their social media, from paid traffic, from basically it teaches you how to build the relevancy, omnipresence, and intimacy step by step so that you never have to worry about where the next deal is coming from.
Love it. And we'll have all these links in the notes here on the podcast. But Jess, this has been amazing. Any last advice for any of those agents out there who think they suck and they really don't?
Results don't take time. They take courage.
There you go. I love it. That's awesome. Jess, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. I learned a ton. A couple of things I'm going to start implementing right away. And if you guys thought this was a hit, share it with somebody who needs it. We have new episodes every couple of weeks. I'm Monte Reyment, and this is the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. Thank you so much again, Jess, and tune in next time. So that's a wrap here on the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. Thank you so much for spending time with me and our guests. The people you hear on the show really aren't guessing. They've been doing the work. They've been doing it for a long time. They're sharing their behaviors, their habits, their successes, their systems that actually lead to
real work, real success. So please subscribe and follow so you don't miss the next conversation. Until next time, remember, you don't suck. You're learning. It's the beginning, or maybe you're in a rut, but you don't suck. So make a few changes, stay curious, stay consistent, and please keep coming back.